Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have another instrument cluster test, this time on a 2003 Nissan Maxima. This is actually from a local customer here in Virginia. They send this cluster. This is your cluster, Felix. It has 110,513 miles. I am checking it because his concern is the fuel level sensor reading always full. All right, so I requested and or recommended that they please run all the full checks in the wire harness. Make sure to prior to send it because otherwise it will incur more charges for the customer. They said that they checked everything and then checked it as good in the vehicle. So I'm doing a test now for them. So as far as connection, it's pretty simple for me to do the test in here. All these meter needs. Actually, let me see if I have the test in here. Not this one, because I think I closed that one. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, I downloaded the view so we can see this better. So this has three connectors. This is the way, I mean, the view of the instrument cluster. So we have all original information, black and white. It's just a little older vehicle, so we're not looking into color or anything like that. But so in the back, we're gonna have three connectors. They're showing in here. Let me just see, black, black, and then no, that's not right. Oh, that's the blackest in here. So yeah, we will have M33 by itself, and you will see that in here as well. So let me just, because I have this connected. So we have two brown ones and then the white one. The white one is the connector M33. So that is the connector, and that will count from 1 to 24. Then the M32 will count from 25 to 44, and the M33 will count from 45 to 68. So pretty easy to see. Always when you're looking in here, they're showing you. Let me make sure I'm saying this because I think this time actually I'm looking at the connector view in the cluster itself. This is the best way to see it because I want you to see how they show, 1, 2, 3 to 6 on this side and then 7, 8, 9. So we have 6 pins in here and 5 pins in here. If I go to this one, not this one, the M32, they show, no, the M33, they show, let me just see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think they're actually showing the same way. hmm So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 24 on the right side. Let me put these two together. No, they're actually showing us this because you see how they had the numbers up in the tab. So these will be backwards if we go and connect into the cluster. Then when we go into the cluster, they're now showing it in the correct order. Let's say, looking at the instrument cluster this way, which is exactly how they have it. So 1 through 6, 7 to 11, and then 12 to 24. All right, so let me just make sure I move these wires out of the way and I put this back where I have it. All right, so all that is as it's supposed to. I have the connections that I need for this. So now that we know what pins are and where are they. So it's three powers. So we have a constant battery on pin 23, an ignition on, an ignition power on pin 24 and pin 31, and then a ground on pin 22. The fuel level sensor signal is on pin 17. And this is a little confusing or will confuse you if you just see this because it doesn't show the entire thing. There is a connector in here, so let's try to find that connector. So I'm going over to the fuel level test. I think that this is, I'm not sure I have it. Fuel level, let me open it up. Fuel level sensor with full diagram. I think this is the one. Yep, yeah, this is it. So you see now we're looking at the fuel level sensor again. We're looking at it's only showing two powers and doesn't matter. It's showing the ground. But then pin 17 it goes to the engine computer and also to the fuel level sending unit. So if the wire by any chance is shorted in here, that will pick down the signal. So this is why it's so important to check the wiring. So right now I'm supplying, as you can see, the instrument cluster is reading 3/4 of level. I'm supplying 970 ohms of resistance. If I listen that resistance, let's say, I'm going to go over to like 570, we're going to see how that level will start to slowly raise, and that's just the way it is. Don't expect this gauge to go like super fast because it's just not the way it is. It's a fuel level sensor, so it's a slow changing. And now put them in 370, trying to kind of like to speed up a little bit of that. Again, 370 ohms. All I'm doing is getting that wire connected to this yellow wire through a resistor and then providing a ground. So we can see now it's completely packed to full. But if I change this, let's say I'm going to go over to 970 and I'm going to put 9,900, so 10,000 ohms or 10 kilo ohm resistor, which is what is supposed to be in this tank. Again, without the compute meter, Nissan is not providing me with that, but we can immediately see the gauge coming down. So what this is telling me is not a problem on the cluster, it's a problem on the car. One wire is shorted, and why is shorted to ground, not shorted to or open, sorry, because otherwise it will be uh, down into empty. When we are away from ground, that's what 10 kilo ohms is, so it's a high resistance, so it's diminishing the voltage. The cluster sends a voltage down into the wire over to the fuel level, and the computer is also expecting the signal. Not sure why they do that into the ECM, but it's part of the system because if we see um, that signal goes to both. It goes into the computer on pin 69 and into the instrument cluster on pin 17. So yes, we see how that is now going down. If I remove the ground, and this is very important, right? If I remove the ground, let's see what the cluster should do. With an open, this cluster should go to empty. Why? Because it's no ground, so it's fully open. You see, and it is. It is only going into full when it's almost short to ground or short to ground. Because if I put 0 ohm resistance and I just provided a ground here, that cluster will be pegged to full all the time. And that could be a partial short. So what I have done in the past with all these vehicles, all cars, is either try to find the ground or just run new wires. So you will depin or cut the pin 69, depin that connector on the fuel level sensor at the tank, and then cut the wire at the instrument cluster and run your own wire. It's only going into those two places, and that's it. You don't need to look under carpets, look under the cluster. But yeah, it's a little time consuming running a new wire, but sometimes it's just hard to do. All right, so we got now the low message, no fuel, and empty. If I connect this back and I'm going to go over to, let's say, 2,970 ohms, we will see how slowly that fuel level will rise and it will probably reach around sorry, half of the tank. And that's what the fuel level should do, as the fuel level changes its level, the resistance inside the tank to ground, because that's just a variable resistor with a brush, it will change and then that will take that ground or pull that ground, sorry, that signal to ground more or less, depends on the resistance, right? That's exactly what it's doing. And we can see how this is slowly coming up. I'm just trying to make it as quick as possible. So that's why I provide, like 970, because otherwise this is going to slowly try to come to half a tank. and I'm trying to not make a super long video, but I'm trying to explain how to test this. And this is all the tests. You can do this test in the car. You can disconnect the harness and just create a jumpers, which is pretty easy. You can then, let me just show you what I can recommend to do. Get these DuPont wires. Let me power this up because no matter what, we already know that this cluster is good. All right, so Felix, your instrument cluster is good. So you can get these DuPont wires. They're really easy to get in Amazon or so. They have the same connector, and you can then do a jumper from the connector on the, on the instrument cluster on the back, and then this over to the actual cluster, connected it to the battery, supplying the powers and grounds, and then doing the signal. As I said, terminal 17 is going into that yellow wire and then looking for a ground through a resistor, right? And then you can do this in your vehicle. You can check any fuel level for most vehicles this way. If you're not sure and you want to reach out, I can tell you if that is the correct way or not before you do it. As long as you're using a decay box and you start with a high resistance, you will be safe. It's kind of like putting a test light in between a test. It will not be powered completely or it will not be grounded completely because the resistance will be the protection. Same thing in here, right? And the bulb will be the taking place of the resistance. All right, guys, thank you so much for visiting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.